there's been a lot of people talking this week about ass, which I know that it very much excites Lethal. It's because we're talking about Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So BioWare announced, what was it, maybe like 6 months ago, they came out and officially announced Mass Effect Legendary Editions, remasters of the original trilogy and all the DLC, well, effectively all the DLCs associated with it. Really got a lot of people excited. The big Mass Effect fans had been asking for this for a long time. They finally got it. But it's not going to be a straight remaster. There's going to be a couple things they change to update for, current day. Lethal, as the expert on all things ass, what do you think about this?
Look, I was one of those people that was super duper excited when they announced they were remastering the Mass Effect trilogy. I like all the Mass Effect games. I never played Andromeda because I'm not touching that garbage. I even like Mass Effect 3, apart from the terrible ending. So the idea of them doing a full remastered trilogy with all the DLC sounds absolutely amazing. And the trailer came out, 2-3 days ago? And that got me pretty hyped. And then they came out and said, oh, by the way, Miranda's butt is bad. We have to change Miranda's butt. And they were talking about how they have to lower the camera angle. If you think that's cringy, they also talked about how there were certain scenes where male Shepard was, quote, man-spreading while he was sitting down, which is just stupid. But he did definitely sit like that, and it was pretty funny. But this whole remaster sounds horrible to me. They're not having any of the multiplayer. I've looked at the screenshots where it's comparing the before and the remaster. Some of the remastered shots look better, but honestly, a lot of them look worse. It's just lens flares, lots and lots of lens flares. But the way they were talking about Miranda's butt was just stupid, man. They're saying that they want to lower the camera angle so that way they can't have some of her arse cheeks in the shot. They're talking about how they went through the game's footage and they're going like, why is the camera focusing on her butt? They completely ignore the fact that the character is genetically designed to be like the perfect woman. And that's actually part of her backstory as well. Like if you keep addressing her as attractive, she gets pissed off about it because that's always been a thing of her whole life. They're not censoring Jack, who is the bold woman in the game. They're not censoring Jacob, who's the male with like his shirt off and all that. None of that's being censored. I'm not liking this whatsoever.
Yeah, no, if anybody's out there, and again, I've never played the Mass Effect games. I have all of them except for Andromeda because I heard that was absolutely terrible. But back in the day when Mass Effect 3 happened and it was such a big controversy, it was a big deal. People said, "Oh, you should still play these games; they're fantastic," except for the end of Mass Effect 3. That's been like a consensus across the board. So I bought all of them. It just it never had time to sit down and play them, but. I mean, if anybody says this is a not a big deal, you are not paying attention to anything that's going on in Hollywood or the games industry for a long time. Little decisions like this are part of a much bigger problem within entertainment. And to my knowledge, they're not changing the controversial ending of Mass Effect 3, correct?
They're including the extended edition ending, which I really didn't think that fixed too much. But then again, with that, if you go through the interview, he pretty much outright says like if they could change certain things, they would. They say quite a few things in that interview which are a bit of a worry. My concern is, I honest to God don't think this is the only thing they're going to be censoring.
Yeah. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. And you're not going to know that until people really get their hands on it and are able to like go shot for shot. And like these are all the things that are changed. People that have played those games to death that will recognize the differences, as opposed to just people who are just may have played through it once or twice, but are very other than that casual Mass Effect fans. And here's the quotes, right? This is when talking about Metro then asked if BioWare would change any of the portrayals of the game's characters. The prior sentence of the article, it seemed Metro was focused on female characters, but we cannot be sure how the question was asked. Walter's answer stating that times have changed. Here it is, quote, I do think a lot of things have evolved since the original games, but I don't know if I would say we were ultra concerned or anything like that, but there were considerations. And now there's 2 marks. One of them's frozen.
Kick Mark. Kick the imposter. Blank Mark. That one.
The Mark, look at the eyes on him.
Oh, I'm not actually seeing. It just looks like a black screen to me.
When you find out they're censoring Miranda's butt.
That's pretty. Let me get him out.
I saw my Chrome crashing. I'm like, I don't know if did you guys hear me say I'll be back in a second?
No. I heard you say like what, and then you were gone. I was like, what the fuck?
We just thought you were quoting a Terminator movie. So we're just...
All right, of course. There's always got to be at some point where Mark makes the face.
I'm gonna try to share the picture that I was trying to share that got me crashed again. We'll see if this works this time.
Okay, yeah, let me finish.
This is Doom done in the style of Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Yeah, let me finish the quote here. So I do think a lot of things have evolved since the original games, but I don't know if I would say we were ultra concerned about it or anything like that. But there were considerations. Kevin actually called out some camera cuts that were just, why was that focusing on Miranda's butt? So in some cases we said, okay, we can make a change there, but ultimately to change an entire character model or something like that wasn't really. It was a decision that was made as part of many creative decisions showing the best possible fidelity we could get going forward. It's really the choice for all the art we had. So they had a problem with these shots. So things like this, there would be like a dialogue wheel right here, right?
Yeah.
But it'd be focused on Miranda's butt. Like Lethal said, it's almost like this was actually important, and some of these characters had these attributes for a reason. This is BioWare marketer David Silverman explained in an interview that the character's sex appeal, often shown through camera angles, and being in a skin-tied suit were part of the character, talking about Miranda. In fact, some characters are defined by their attractiveness, such as a woman who is genetically engineered to be perfect. Camera angles help tell the story and portray key aspects of each character. In Miranda's case, her curves and sexuality. We had similar shots of Jacob. This is
exactly
made to get marketing the game.
This is back with the old BioWare, like the BioWare that we all used to love so much. This is when they actually put a lot of effort into their storytelling. But you know what I find to be extremely hypocritical about all this? I remember being in school when there was the Fox News interview with a developer, and he came in and just smacked them down because they were accusing the game of being like a sex simulator and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And he was on TV going, "What are you fucking talking about? It's a space opera." And he asked this was back in Mass Effect 1, and he asked all the people interviewing, he goes, how many of you actually played this game? And none of them said they had played it. And they showed one scene, one half, like not even half of a sex scene completely out of context. And the developer's going, do you know how much shit you have to do to fuck that girl in this game, man?
It's exactly what Ripa was talking about on Friday Night Tights with the comic industry and everything we've seen in Star Wars and all these other the entire industry has been, they hire people that have no interest in this stuff. They hire activists to get involved and change the shit. These people have no interest in the game, yet they see an opportunity to make a social justice stance against women being objectified in a video game without any context or understanding of what's going on. It's unreal.
Modern BioWare is just that. It's they shouldn't even share the same name as these people.
Yeah, and so there's a couple people like this. I think you guys are overreacting about something very trivial that doesn't really matter.
My point was going to be about that. But
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So, okay, I've been seeing a lot of people say that it's either a totally insignificant thing that doesn't really matter, which means they probably should have just changed the camera angle and not said anything about it, just let people notice or not notice in the game. And if it's really not really that big a deal, most people just wouldn't notice. Because unless you're doing an A/B playthrough, be like, here's original Mass Effect 2, here's the same scene in Legendary Edition. Oh, it looks like they changed the camera angle. But they didn't. They came out and made a statement being like, we're shifting these things around, we're changing it. And it seems like the reactions I'm reading are either it's totally insignificant and you guys are complaining over nothing, or it's an integral part of the character and changing it is a big deal, so people have a right to be upset. It can't be both. Like it can't be both insignificant and not worth changing and super significant, and so you can't get upset, or if you get upset about it, that's warranted. Like you got to kind of pick a side on that argument, really.
Even with that, I mean, this is supposed to be a shot-for-shot remaster. That's it. This isn't like the Final Fantasy remake where it's technically a sequel in Tetsuya Nomura fashion. This is supposed to be, we've ripped the game out and we've just put a fresh coat of paint on it. We've upgraded it so it looks modern and we're putting it back out there. This sounds like they're going through and actually changing shit. This is like when you buy a Blu-ray copy of a movie and you're watching it and going, this isn't how it happened on my old DVD version. I want that stuff. And I do agree that, okay, yeah, it doesn't fundamentally break the game or affect the gameplay, which, you know, a lot of people would consider to be the most important thing. But if they're already starting to do these changes, I'm willing to bet the rest of my sex life this is not the only thing they're censoring on this game, man.
Yeah, and that's like, to me, I agree. Like, if you're just talking about in isolation, will it really change my enjoyment of this game? The fact that they move the camera up and isn't focused on her butt during dialogue scene? The answer is no. Like, it's really not. It's more about what that means. Like Lethal's saying, what it means is that they are not just remastering the game; they are changing it to align with current day shit, current day politics, current day identity bullshit. That's what they're doing. That's probably what they'll do for the rest of the game as well. And that is what is happening in society. They're trying to rewrite history to align to these current day standards that only the people in this echo chamber get to decide what's appropriate. So that's the problem. It is about a bigger thing that is happening. It just happens to be isolated on this little incident.
And isn't it a bit of a fuck you to the people that made the game back in the day? Like, has anyone asked them how they feel about these changes?
Well, they don't care. They don't care how they feel.
Exactly.
But I will say, and again, I'm speaking to someone that hasn't played the game, but I do think it can be both things, Mark, to a certain extent. It can not be a big deal, but also not be a big deal in reference to the game. It's not a big deal. Why are you changing it? But it does make it a big deal if they're changing it because it's part of a bigger problem we're seeing across the board. So it cannot be a big deal within the game, but be a big deal that they are changing it because they're clearly highlighting this, the developers, to want to change it for a reason. And that reason, as we have seen across the board, is part of a bigger problem.
No, I understand that. I don't think I articulated myself very well there, actually. I think what I was trying to say is that if you're of the mind that this is an important change because it fundamentally changes an aspect of the media that then makes it different and might be motivated by things that are hot button and political in a way, you can take that stance and be on either side of that argument. That's totally fine. But I find that there's people saying, no, it's a good change, and it's good that they did it, and it's super important, but also you're an idiot if you think it's any kind of significant change. It's like they're kind of saying that they're taking both stances, that you're stupid if you have a problem with this because it's an insignificant change, but also it's good that they're doing it. And I'm like, okay, it can't really be both of those things. It's either bad because they're censoring a media product, which is kind of the side I'm on. I'm like, well, honestly, even if it is, I don't know, like, I think, I'm not even sure what the argument is because it's a shot of a butt. I don't really think that that's like even super titillating or like offensive in any way. But if your argument is that, oh, it's inappropriate, okay, but then don't say it's not a big deal, because like you think it's a big deal if you think that it's right that they're censoring it, you know. And that's I don't know. I just see a lot of inconsistency in the.
We'll see, I mean, and somebody just said it in the chat. And wow, this is old school shit. This is before Geeks and Gamers even had a fucking following. But the mayor says, like what Jeremy said about Kylo's scar being moved. If they're willing to change that, they could change anything else. And I wish I would have understood the ramifications of that comment when that first trailer came out about The Last Jedi, and Rian Johnson shifted Kylo's scar and then lied about it and said he wasn't censoring it. And then when video evidence, when people posted pictures like, no, this is his scar at the end of TFA versus this is the trailer in TLJ. And I talked about that. And I said, if they're willing to change this, what else are they willing to change? Now, I didn't stay true to my words because I still had the fanboy goggles on as we got closer to the movie, but that just opened up a huge can of worms. If he's willing to ignore continuity on a simple scar, what else are they willing to do? Well, we see what else was willing to happen. And I think fans have just seen this type of bullshit over and over again to the point where when we see anything that is being changed or censored, we are hypersensitive because we have seen things get destroyed over and over again. And that's the side of the argument I'm on. Leave shit alone. Just leave it the fuck alone. Fuck you and your feelings. Leave it alone. Because if you're willing to change one thing, they're going to change. There's no line they won't cross.
Not at all. But I mean, like I was saying before, like the hype was there, and it was so weird because myself and others were hyped for an EA product. That's fucking bizarre, man. Like, go look at my channel. I did a reaction to the trailer. I loved the trailer. In less than 24 hours, I was thinking, maybe I'm not going to buy this anymore, man. I've never seen hype die so quickly for something that a lot of people are really looking forward to. And on top of that, I honestly don't know how I feel about going into Mass Effect 4 now.
That's the thing I was going to bring up is, now we understand where these people's heads are at. Now, again, I think this is only the tip of the iceberg as far as all this stuff's concerned. So, yeah, Mass Effect 4, get ready, get excited for these people to teach you about sexualizing women. And it's so strange because it's this way because it's an attractive, idealized woman, right? That's why this is a problem. And even Neil Druckmann, he says we shouldn't sexualize characters. I'm tired of these sexualized characters. Listed all these examples, and then he turns around and sexualizes the most unsexual, disgusting human being we've ever got to play in a game in Abby. Right? She gets raw dogged with her A- tits out. Right?
And you see nipple and everything.
There's like 2 female characters in Last of Us 2 who don't have a sex scene of some kind too. With speaking lines, I mean,
exactly, and all of them,
Dina, Ellie, and Abby are all like portrayed in sexual situations during that game.
Yep.
I don't know, man. The more I hear about this remaster, the worse it sounds. Like scrapping the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer just sounds.
Yeah, honestly, that's the biggest problem I have with this.
And Miranda is very sentimental to people my age. I was like 14, 15 when Miranda first came onto the scene. And you know what a 14, 15-year-old boy is like, we're starting to notice things.
It's very sentimental to me because I had my first fap to her butt.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I can't believe they're taking this away from me.
Mass Effect 2 actually got me to start watching the show Chuck because the girl who plays Miranda is on it, like the one with Shazam.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I actually think though that the much bigger omission actually is the multiplayer, because the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer was actually pretty solid. In fact, it was kind of similar in structure in a way to Ghost of Tsushima's multiplayer.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting that in the year that we got Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and a lot of people were making the comparison, this is like as much of a interesting multiplayer take on this single player story based game as the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer was. And then they're like, Mass Effect 3 is coming back out, but we're not doing the multiplayer.
Yeah, I know. It's just weird, man. And that article that you had up, Ryan, does that have the before and afters of like screen caps?
No, I don't think they haven't shown the new scene.
I don't think they've seen it.
They've just talked about the fact that they're.
You haven't seen any of them?
I haven't seen any. Well, as far as the remastered, like the shots that show how it looks. Like, is that what you're talking about? You're talking about the actual butt scenes.
Yeah, no, like the shot for shots where like they show what it looks like remastered. So you haven't seen the lens flare galore.
I've seen a couple of those. I don't have one of those articles pulled up though. But
some of it I think does look better, but a lot of them you're looking at and going, that's just a lens flare.
Some of it does look a little bit lazy, but I think there are parts of it that do look good. Like, but it depends. It's weird that they chose some of those to highlight like differences because there wasn't many, but
lots of them, the Mass Effect 1 screenshots that I saw were a pretty big improvement, but because that game does look the roughest going back to it now. But most of 2 and 3, especially, I mean, I know this is going to be a cliche thing of me to say, but the trailer they released was 30 frames a second. So I'm just like, this just looks like an Xbox 360 game to me. Like, I was like, the lighting is slightly nicer, but other than that, I don't know why people were like, oh my God, Mass Effect's back. It's like, I don't know, like, looks okay.
Well, they didn't even bring it into Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah, I think that would have been one hell of an overhaul to pull all 3 games into a different engine, but they're using, and as you kind of touched on, an old engine, and they just kind of cleaned it up a bit. Like it looks to me like running it on PC with a couple texture mods today, like the same code on like a modern computer, but with tons of lens flare thrown in. Mass Effect 1 I'm not talking about. I'm talking about 2 and 3, because 2 and 3 are the ones that look pretty much the same to me. But I don't know. I might pick this up at some point, but it'll be on a Steam sale when the whole thing's like $20. Like I'm not really excited about this at all.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel. Like I was really looking forward to playing these games again. Now, not so much. By any chance, are they on the PlayStation Store? Like I'll just buy them again without the remaster.
I don't know.
2 and 3, I believe, are. Did 1 ever come out on PlayStation? I think it might have.
I've got them all on 360.
Yeah,
that was where I played
the original one was a Xbox 360 exclusive.
Yeah.
And then they brought 2 to PS3, which is actually where I played it. I switched from 360 to PS3 for the second one, and they actually handled it pretty well because a bunch of your choices in 1 carry over to 2. They started with this sort of motion comic synopsis of the original game where you can actually make the significant choices that would carry over. So if you were switching from 360 to PS3, you would feel like it's still carrying on your story.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I liked how they did that. How you could load in your character from Mass Effect 2, and whatever character had died in Mass Effect 2 was dead in Mass Effect 3. I always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it was something that a lot of people were looking forward to, and now BioWare has revealed that they are changing things to align with current day and what the weak pussies at BioWare now feel like should be current day. But let me get to some of these super chats here. I did pull up the ones that we had before the stream. Butter Biscuit for $5. Can you please leave the stream up for a couple days? Not going to be able to watch live today. Would like to watch later when I have the time. Well, I will unlist it. It will be available for you. So. Ahead,
well,
Jimmy.
we are gonna make a change. Just because, look, unlike Lucasfilm and companies like Lucasfilm, we actually do listen to people, and we did kind of put this behind the member paywall, these live streams that we do. But I've decided to lift that, so we're gonna start re-uploading these live streams to Geeks and Gamers Live. It'll be unlisted here on the channel after it's done.
You can still watch it.
You can still watch it if you have the link, but then we'll re-upload it over to Geeks and Gamers Live, and we're kind of start getting that channel back into the flow, because ultimately moving forward, I'm not going to focus on YouTube memberships. We want to focus on geeksandgamers.com memberships, and I don't think it's fair to ask people to support us on YouTube platform and our website. We want to have that support on the website only. So we'll work on that. But yes, starting today, this stream and all streams moving forward of this podcast will be available over on Geeks and Gamers Live after the fact. So my apologies for any inconveniences, but I have corrected that mistake now.
Yep. So you will be able to watch it. But as always, it'll just go unlisted, and you can just look in your YouTube search history. If you want to pick up where you left off on this, you should be able to find it.
Yep.